Hello, Tanya.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Very good. We are
Good.
live on Facebook.
Good. Very excited this morning. Thank you, Alex, for welcoming us. So just a brief welcome before we get started on the class today. My name is Tanya Friedman. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Kinetics. We are a recruitment company. We specialize in direct hire of candidates, nurses all over the US. We work with hospitals, nursing homes, correctional, surgery centers, rehab facilities, many organizations that are looking for international nurses. And we're very excited to bring in Swoosh, Alex from Swoosh. Before we do that, just a few things to talk about, just a brief introduction. The reason why we started these Facebook Live sessions for you is because we have seen for many years, we've been doing this for a long time, and for many years we've seen so many of you struggle with the NCLEX, the IELTS, the delays with the visa bulletin, and good news, we had a little bit of movement with the visa bulletin this month. So we celebrate every small victory. Any movement forward is good movement. And we have seen so many of you struggle. So we wanted to create some kind of a forum where we could help you with one of those hurdles, and that is the IELTS. The IELTS is very stressful for many of you, very frustrating process. But as you all know, it's a requirement of the US government. So there's no way around it. If you were not trained in English, you have to pass the IELTS. We came across Swoosh. We did a lot of research. We came across Swoosh and we found that they were really the best option to be able to give free IELTS classes, which we were very excited that they were willing to do, because not many companies will do that. The unique thing about Swoosh is that they are based in the UK. As many of you know, the criteria in the UK is much more difficult than the criteria for the IELTS in the US. So we knew if they had success for that, they would have success with the US. Also, the other thing that's unique about Swoosh is that most of the trainers are ex-IELTS examiners. So those of you that have watched the free IELTS classes before will see that you get an inside scoop in the mind of the IELTS examiner when the Swoosh trainers are training you, which is extremely helpful. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to Alex. He's going to introduce the class, and we're very excited to learn the next step of the IELTS preparation.
Thank you very much, Tanya. So we're really excited to be working with Kinetics, and really you've got the process, the point, the starting point, the point that you're at right now, and the point at which you become a nurse in the US. So if Tanya and I, Kinetics and Swoosh, can help you on that journey from where you are to where you want to be, which is living the American dream in the US, living the American dream in the US, I suppose. So working as a nurse and living as a nurse in the US, if we can help you to do that, then that will give us so much satisfaction, because time and time again, a lot of Kinetics nurses, I love seeing their photographs when they're with their families and, they're in California or New York or, wherever it might be, Boston, Massachusetts, wherever it is across America. The satisfaction comes from us when we see the kind of the struggle that they've gone through with the IELTS and the NCLEX, etc. And now, you see them come out the other end and they've passed all of those exams and they've got through the immigration process, and now they're living that dream life as a nurse in America. So that's what I want to see from all of you. That's what I want to see from Domingo, Teresa, Clint, G, Francis, Omer, Neri Ann, Alduga, all of these people who are watching right now. We want to see you working as a nurse in the US. So I hope we can help you on that journey. And these classes will be a fantastic starting point if you're at the beginning of the journey right now. But even if you're in the middle of the journey or even towards the end of the journey, this will help you as well. So today, in this session, we want to go through as many questions as you've got about IELTS, whether it's the IELTS reading, listening, speaking, or writing papers. We are going to go through all of that with you. And I'm really excited. In a few minutes, we're going to be joined by one of our ex-IELTS examiners. His name is Colin, and he's been examining, he was previously an examiner for IELTS, and he's been a teacher for many years. And he's based in the UK, as am I. So we are looking forward to answering as many questions as you have got. remember, you've not got one IELTS teacher, you've got two. Okay, you've got two who are going to be answering all of your questions. So please be as responsive as possible. Please be as active as possible as well, because the more you put into these sessions, the more you are going to get out of it. So I look forward to welcoming you into the class today. We've got Kim here. Kim is one of our nurses on our VIP program. Good to see you, Kim. We've got Shalani. We've got Domingo, who shared the live video. So if you share today's IELTS live class video to your Facebook page, that's step 1. And step 2 is you write underneath this live class video, I have shared the IELTS live class video. So type that underneath, and then you'll get access to our IELTS free welcome pack. Completely free. You've got our video lessons, you've got our resources, our tips that will be immediately sent to your Facebook account. So who else have we got in here today? Lots of people sharing the IELTS live class video. Joanne, we've got Karen, and we've got Can Hutran as well. We've got Alder Lee as well. And Alder Lee has tagged all of her friends. Fantastic. So hopefully, because this is a free class video, we want as many people as possible to benefit from the tips and advice that we're giving you today, because so many nurses, as Tanya said, so many nurses are struggling with the IELTS exam. They need that expert advice, and that's what an ex-IELTS examiner like Colin and some of our other IELTS ex-examiners who've been in these classes, that's what we can do for you. We can help you so you don't need to struggle through the whole process by yourself. Okay, so please.
There's nothing better, Alex. I travel all over the US and welcome the nurses when they arrive. And there's nothing better than looking in their eyes and seeing that relief when they finally arrive here, and the long journey and all the hardships and all the challenges have been so worthwhile. So we look forward to all of that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Tanya. So we've got other people. Wamun Dealer has shared the video. Neri Ann, Christine. We've got Kristin from Saudi Arabia. Lots of nurses who are based in the Middle East right now who are looking to work towards that American dream. And the topic for today, John, I like the fact that you've asked that question, because I was literally just about to go on to that. So previous weeks, we've talked about IELTS speaking, because you need a band score 7 for speaking to become a nurse in the US. We did writing last week. So we talked about task 2 for opinion essays, what you need to do to hit that band score 6.57 or even 8 if you're one of those ambitious nurses who wants to get a higher score. But remember, to become a nurse in the USA, you need a 6.5 overall, and you need a 7 in speaking. So your speaking skills are really, really important, especially when you're speaking to colleagues in the hospital, fellow nurses, other doctors out there, as well as all the patients as well. So 7 in speaking, 6.5 overall, and you can do that across 2 examinations within a 2-year period as well. So we've got lots of people sharing the IELTS class video. Fantastic. But yeah, we've done that in previous weeks, but this week we're going to do a question and answer session, a Q&A session, all about IELTS. So you can ask any question that you have, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, whether it's listening, or whether it's speaking, or whether it's about your preparation, whatever that might be, we are here to help you. So if you haven't shared the live class video, make sure you do that. Share it to your Facebook page. I'm sure there's lots of other friends and colleagues that you have who could benefit from the advice today. I'm now going to bring in our ex-IELTS examiner. His name is Colin. Please let me know if you're ready. Say, yes, I am ready in the chat box. So Michelle said, very nice. I'm glad to hear it, Michelle. Maria, Dans, Doiki, Bet, Nerianne, John, all of you, let me know if you're ready so that we can start, because we want to get through as many questions as possible. Remember, the more questions you've got, the better, the more that we can give you the help that you need, because so many students are just doing self-study right now. They don't have a teacher, and if they don't have a teacher, they definitely do not have an ex-IELTS examiner, and that's what we are going to be providing you today. So we've got Joanne's ready, Doiki is ready, Feely is ready. I'm very much ready. Great to hear, Feely. Who else is ready? Okay, who else is ready? I'm going to tell you all very soon about a free Facebook group that we've got for IELTS. It's called the Kinetics IELTS Support Group, and I'm going to be posting a link later on. This is where we're going to give you access to a study partner. This is where we're going to give you lots of tips and advice, and also some competitions that you can win in order to get some of our free resources that students usually pay for. So if you're interested in joining that Facebook group where we can support you 24/7, then please let me know in the chat box. So we'll talk about that, very, very soon. Okay, lots of people. Sonia's ready. Jinsey, Jane, awesome. Okay, Colin, our ex-IELTS examiner from the UK, are you there?
I am. Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Colin. So great to have you in, Colin. We've got lots of nurses, so they're all looking to achieve the dreams of becoming a nurse in America, and they are ready and they are prepared for today's class. Colin, so for anyone who's not been taught by you before, which is probably most of the students in the class today, can you just give a brief introduction about your experience and how you can help the nurses here?
Sure. Thanks, Alex. So, as mentioned before, I'm an ex-IELTS examiner for writing and speaking for a number of years. So I'm very familiar with the requirements and the challenges of the IELTS exam. I've also been teaching for over 10 years, helping students to prepare for English proficiency exams, including, of course, big ones like IELTS. So hopefully what I can help you with today is some of the questions you have about different sections of the test or the test overall. So anything from strategies, ways to improve scores, really anything that you can think of. Do try and be specific with questions. Questions like how can I get a better IELTS score are going to be tricky to answer. But if you've got something specific, I will do my best to try and help you.
That's a really good point, Colin. We do sometimes get questions say, how can I improve my listening, or how can I improve my reading? Colin could probably speak about that subject for 10 hours. Am I right, Colin?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so the more specific you are, the better. Okay, so if is there a particular aspect of reading that's really difficult for you? Is there a particular aspect of speaking or writing task 1 or writing task 2 that you're really finding difficult? Be specific. The more specific you are, the better. Okay. So please, can you give us your questions? Please type them in the message box. I'm not seeing a lot of questions right now. So like I said, if you ask questions, you'll get more out of the session today. So even if you think your question is a stupid question, sometimes those are the best questions. So please put those into the message box. And are you able to see the questions on your side, Colin?
I can, yeah. So far, the only question I can see, I'm scrolling through them now, is John asks, which is better, IDP or BC? So I guess he's asking who should I do it with? I mean, whoever's nearest and cheapest. I don't. I mean, there's not. Yeah. You know, it's not. You're taking the exam. It doesn't really matter as much, I think, who you're taking.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. I think we find this a lot with IELTS. Do you think that IDP is going to be easier or British Council is going to be easier? Focus on what you can control. The external factors out there like that, they don't really mean much. You can only control what your performance is like. And unfortunately, John Marriott, you asked the question. That involves a lot of hard work. But if we are able to help the process and make it a bit easier for you by having these kinds of sessions, then that's great for you and for us in seeing the satisfaction of seeing you become a nurse in the US. So guys, Ralmo, Alexis, Wamondilla, Abunede, Jane, Jinsey, G, Sonia, we've got lots and lots of people here. What are your questions? But I think, Colin, have you got any kind of, whilst we're waiting for questions to come through, have you got any kind of overall tips that for each section of the IELTS exam, or anything in particular that you see students in terms of making mistakes as to why they're stuck on a 5.5 or a 6 and they just can't get to a 6.57 and above in each section?
Well, I think first of all, moving between bands isn't always easy. I mean, it's easier, for example, let's say, to go from a band 5 to a band 6 than perhaps going from a band 6 to a band 7. I mean, it's quite common. People can sometimes just plateau out at this sort of roundabout band 6 level. It's quite common. People can get very frustrated, feel like they're not making progress. especially once you hit that that sort of band 6, because it is quite a jump to band 7. What I would say is going up bands in different sections isn't always as easy or difficult as the other ones. So, I mean, if you think about the kind of score you'd need, let's say, to get a band 7 in reading, for example, I mean, the difference between a band 6.5 and a band 7 in reading might just be 3 or 4 extra correct answers in your reading, which could be comparably relatively easy to do, just with a little bit of extra preparation and guidance. Whereas, for example, moving up, let's say, from a 6.5 to a 7 in writing, that could be something that's a longer process, because there's a lot of improvement that would be needed just to go up a half a band in that. So I think the first thing to say really is hopefully people are aware roughly of what their current level is, either through having taken the IELTS exam before, or having done mock tests, or having taken classes, and know what sort of journey they're really preparing for. You know, moving up a band or 2 could be a long-term commitment, whereas if there's just one section where you need to go up half a band, that could be something done in a shorter time. So really, it starts with having a realistic assessment of where you are currently, where you want to be, and how long that process is going to take.
Thank you so much, Colin. So really good tips there about how to go up a band score from where you're at right now to where you want to be, which is a 6.5 overall and a band score 7 in speaking. So I think Feli Ma Jose has had a question which says, I'm just wondering, is the speaking exam nowadays still recorded?
Yes, it is. So, I mean, it will depend to an extent on which centre you're at, and which country and city probably as well. Everything is recorded. That will either be done with like a handheld recorder, or sometimes on video cameras, sometimes both. But wherever you're doing the speaking exam and whoever you're doing it with, it will always be recorded. So there's always evidence there, some backup for the test. Yes.
And John asked, in writing task 2, which is more important, fluency or lexical resource or grammar?
Okay, now it's an interesting question. So first of all, just in case anyone's unsure, we are looking at the four different criteria that you're going to be assessed on for the writing. So the first thing is grammatical range and accuracy is one, lexis vocabulary is another, coherence and cohesion is another, and task achievement is another. So we've got these 4 categories. They're all weighted equally. One is not more important than the other one, because the total score you get is an average of all 4 of those. So, for example, if we're looking at writing, a lot of people get very worried about their grammar. You know, I make a lot of grammatical mistakes, or my grammar's quite simple. Well, okay, that's one of the criteria, but that's no more or less important than, for example, getting a high score in coherence and cohesion. But I think from speaking to most students focusing really heavily on grammar, range and accuracy, not focused so much on coherence and cohesion. So there's not one of the 4 IELTS criteria, and the same in the speaking, by the way, for those 4. There's not one of them that's more or less important than the other. They're all worth a quarter of your total writing or speaking score.
Fantastic, Colin. Let's see what other questions we've got coming through. And if you've not shared today's live class video and you want to access our free IELTS welcome pack that's got lots of video lessons, resources and tips, make sure step 1, you share the Facebook live class to your Facebook page. Step 2, right underneath, I have shared the IELTS live class video. So I have shared the IELTS live class video, and you will get that free IELTS welcome pack sent to your Facebook Messenger inbox, and you can get access to all those free resources so that they will help you with your preparations. Rona said, hello Colin, how is the speaking test graded? Okay, so I mean, I mentioned briefly there about the writing test. For the speaking test, there's 4 criteria again, although they're a little different. We've still got lexical resource, we've still got grammatical range and accuracy, but for speaking
The other two criteria, one of them is pronunciation, one of them is fluency and coherence. So the way it's graded is the examiner will be listening to you over the interview, of course, and at the end they're going to give you a score out of 9 for each one of those 4 criteria. And obviously, as Alex mentioned, you know, we're up to looking at 6s and 7s, so fairly high scores are required. And the first thing to be aware of is you know, 8s and 9s. I mean, this is a level of native speakers. Excuse me. Basically, so for most people, aiming for, you know, a 6.5 or a 7 is I mean, it's a very high score. It shows a high proficiency in English. Then your total speaking score is the average of those. So let's say you got 6 for fluency and coherence, 6 for grammar, 7 pronunciation, 7's Lexis. Overall, you'd then be getting a 6.5. And I think it is useful, if you haven't already, and you can find this on many IELTS websites, is to actually just have a look and see what does it mean, for example, by pronunciation. I think people in the speaking know they need good pronunciation, for example, but what does that mean? What are some features that the IELTS examiner will be listening out for? And some people are surprised when we actually go over this. You know, it's not just your ability to be understood, you know, pronouncing individual sounds. It includes things like intonation, pauses, things like that. So in answer to your question, there are 4 criteria. Each is graded out of 9, and your total speaking score is the average of those 4.
Thank you very much, Colin. So let's see what other questions we've got coming through. Okay, John is very active in asking questions. We've got lots of people who are not asking questions. So the more questions you ask, the better, the more that we're able to help you today, because you don't want this session to finish and then you realize you had all those questions that you thought of afterwards. Okay, now we're starting to get more questions coming through. John said, are we allowed to use idioms in writing task 2? Quite a common question.
Definitely, as long as they're appropriate, of course. And remember, for writing task 2, you're writing an essay, so it's not, you know, incredibly academic formal, but again, it is a semi-formal style. Idioms are appropriate if they are suitable for that particular style of writing, which is writing an essay, giving an opinion. So idiomatic language is good, and in fact, the ability to use idiomatic language is one of the features of a higher level writing or speaking submission. But they've got to be appropriate. They've got to match. If you're writing an essay and then you use, for example, an idiom which is more appropriate for speaking, well, then you're not really using language too effectively. So yes, you should use idioms, but be careful. Make sure they're appropriate in terms of style and formality and so on.
Thank you very much, Colin. And Feely said, is penmanship important in the writing exam? Which one must we use, cursive or non-cursive?
There's no restriction. You can write however you want, but what I would say is it does need to be legible. The thing to remember is if you're writing something that the examiner can't actually read, and you know, if you've got very messy handwriting, or if you're writing in cursive, which is incredibly elaborate and difficult to read, then if the examiner can't read what's there, they can't check with you. It's not like being in class where the teacher can say, what's this word? They're just not going to know what the word is. Now, obviously, if there's several words throughout your writing that they can't understand, well, that's clearly going to affect things like coherence and cohesion, and also lexical resource. So you can use cursive, but make sure it's easy to read. And if you're at all unsure, stick to non-cursive.
We've got a question I can answer from Joanne. Do you have any writing samples, either task 1 or task 2, that has a score of 6 and or 7? I want to see the difference. I've taken IELTS twice and I thought I would have improved my writing skills on my second try, but unfortunately I got the same score, which was a 6.5. I mean, we offer writing samples to our students on our VIP course. So if you are looking for a course, Joanne, go to our website, swooshenglish.com. We've got a bank of essays that you can get access to. But really the key thing is, Joanne, if you've taken the exam twice, I mean, I'm guessing you've not got a teacher. Let me know if you've got a teacher or not. But someone like Colin, like an ex-IELTS examiner, okay, ideally a native English speaking ex-examiner, or even a good quality native English speaking IELTS teacher, can really help you with your writing, because maybe you don't know where your mistakes are at the moment. So writing samples can help you to some degree, but it's better for someone to assess your writing, not just writing samples, but where are you going wrong? Not another student, not this student, not that student, not that student. It's your writing. Where are you going wrong? And the unfortunate thing is, when you get your results, you only get the band scores. You don't get the corrections. You know, Colin, do you probably spend about 5 minutes marking a real exam?
A writing exam?
Sorry, yeah, writing task 1 or task 2.
If that.
If that.
Yeah. Which
is amazing. I think some students, they don't realize that examiners, they're not spending 30 minutes on each one, you know. I mean, we've got so many other examiners that I've spoken to, and they say that they have to get through so many of them that it's just what, 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're paid per essay, not for your time.
Exactly. So you've got to get 4 scores, which cover the 4 band descriptors. The examiners are going through them really quickly. So, I mean, Colin, how many have you marked, do you think, in all your years of examining? Thousands?
Oh, God, tens of thousands. I mean, you're marking 50 to 100 a day, times that by X number of years. I mean, that's a frightening number, probably.
Yeah, thousands and thousands. So the examiners like Colin are able to come to a grade very, very quickly for you. So, you know, just by going through thousands of them. So yeah, Joanne, that's what I would say is, as someone who can give you corrections, feedback, suggestions for improvement, and a band score estimation is exactly what you need. Otherwise, you could be taking the exam again and again and again and paying lots and lots of money for more and more exams. Okay, is there a minimum number of words in the writing exam, said John?
No, it's a good question. So that there is they are given in the exam how many words, write at least blah blah words. Now you're not actually penalized just for being under the word count. That's changed a little bit. You used to automatically get penalized, but if you're 1 or 2 words under, then or for even a few words, that's not going to be a problem, or you won't be penalized for it. But what I would say to follow up on that is that if you are going under the word limit, you're probably not going to be able to get a high level score anyway, because you won't have so for example, if you were doing writing task 1, and you were let's say you wrote 100 words for it, well, you probably aren't explaining all the points of the graph or the stages of the diagram in enough detail, or maybe you're missing out an overview. So the reason those word counts are given is because that's really the minimum number of words you will need to fully complete the task. Not to complete it minimally, but to actually expand every point or every argument or every piece of data as you need to. So do try not to go under them if possible, because you'll probably be limiting yourself.
Absolutely. And we had a question from Alanis. Alanis said, "Will I get a lower score if I ask the examiner to repeat the question in the IELTS speaking exam?" Definitely
not. No, and you shouldn't be afraid in the speaking exam of asking them to repeat the question. If the question's asked in a way that's a bit confusing, you could ask them to rephrase it. Could you say that in a different way? Would you mind saying that again? The same for anything else. Like if you need 5 seconds thinking time, don't sit there silently for 5 seconds. It's okay to say to the examiner, "Oh, could you just give me a few seconds to think about that?" That's absolutely fine. So yeah, that will not impact your score. Now, obviously, if you're saying that for every single question or 50% of the questions you're being asked, then that would have an impact on your fluency and so on. But no, you can of course ask for things to be repeated.
Great stuff, Colin. Okay, so let's see what other questions are coming through. If there's any that you can see that you want to answer, Colin, let me know.
Let me have a look. Okay, so M asks, do we really need to put a conclusion in writing task 1 apart from the overview included in the introduction? So I'm assuming, M, you're asking about the academic writing here. Now, you're quite right. You definitely need an overview. I would include a conclusion, but it's literally going to be a sentence. And to be honest, if you've in your overview, you've sort of given a bit of a conclusion in your overview anyway, or at least you should have done, by explaining the main, the main trends, the main points. So if you feel you've done that thoroughly in the introduction, in the overview, then you wouldn't necessarily need a conclusion, but it doesn't hurt to just give one sentence at the end, maybe summarizing the main key trends, for example. Another question, I'll just run through the ones as I see them. Dutchkey asks, is there any way for me to know that I've reached the required number of words in writing? What I think is a good idea is to write down when you're doing your practice, your mock tests, and see for you how many words in your handwriting fills up a page. That way you don't have to go in the actual exam and count up every single word. But let's say, for example, if you fit 100 words on a page, then you'll know when you get to the end of the first page in the actual test, oh, I've written about 100 words. And it's useful to do this because everyone, people have got different sized handwriting and everything, so it's not the same for everyone. So just be familiar with roughly what fills up a page or half a page in your own writing.
Okay, let's see what other questions we've got. Tanya.
Yeah. Hi, Colin. This is
Hello.
Tanya.
Hi.
I have a question that just came through from one of our nurses
Okay.
in an email from me. She just took the IELTS for the second time, and she got a 7 in speaking the first time, and then she got a 6 overall. And now she's going to be taking it for the second time. And she wants to know how, because in the US you can combine scores. So the requirement is a 6.5 overall and a 7 in speaking. So obviously she doesn't need to focus on the speaking for the second test that she's going to take. What's the best way to, what is the most important things to focus on in getting that overall score up from a 6 to a 6.5?
I mean, it would depend on the particular section of the test that she's struggling with or that she finds most difficult. I mean, the simple answer is like anything, practicing, doing as many practice tests as you can. I mean, the thing is with the listening and reading, I mean, by doing practice tests, it's fairly easy to find. So, for example, if you get 40 out of 40, obviously that's a band 9, and typically maybe 3 or 4 correct answers or incorrect answers shifts you down 1/2 a band, something like that. So you can sort of calculate on your own roughly where you are with your listening and speaking, even if you don't have a study partner. Although, of course, in order to improve, you're probably going to want to go to classes or something. For the writing, I think one issue with writing people have is sometimes vocabulary. Not having the vocabulary they need for a particular question, and of course the range of potential questions in IELTS is huge, and that's not just for the writing but possible topics in the reading as well. But if you start looking at practice tests and things, what you can start to do is sort of not narrow down, but see what are some popular IELTS subjects. What subjects does IELTS really like? So for example, things like the internet, or the environment, or globalization. These are sort of topics that seem to crop up quite a lot. So what I'd say for both, maybe for writing and reading, is sort of focus in on those more popular topics and do as much reading as you can and as much essay writing as you can in those areas to best prepare yourself for the more likely subjects that come up in the exam.
Okay, that's very helpful. I don't know if people, I never knew that there was certain topics that seem to come up. So I think that would be a very helpful tip. Thank you for that.
Okay.
I will pass that on to the nurse right away. She just messaged me as we're talking, so that was good timing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So let's see what other questions we have coming through. Again, Razan, we mentioned this before. She said, I am not good at reading. What should I do? We could speak about this for 10 hours, Razan. Can you give me more specifics? So specifically, what are you not good at with reading? And then Colin and I can help you. I think, Tanya, can you answer this question that Delimar has just asked? How many months can be valid to combine 2 scores for the US visa screening? I think if you talk about IELTS, I think it's 2 years. Is that right, Tanya?
Yes, that's correct. So it's 2 years that it's valid, but there is a little secret tip that I can share, that if you have obtained a visa screen, which is a document from the CGFNS, it's a nonprofit immigration organization in Philadelphia, then it actually holds the IELTS score for 5 years.
Ah.
But you cannot do that unless you've already passed the NCLEX as well.
Right.
Or you might have passed the CGFNS exam, which is another exam that many nurses used to take many years ago as a precursor to the NCLEX. These days, most people don't write the CGFNS exam anymore. But it's 2 years, and if you have a visa screen, it holds it for 5. So that's important for everybody to know, of course.
I've got a question for you, Tanya.
Yes.
Okay. My question is, should nurses do NCLEX first or IELTS first?
It's a tough question, and it's something that we get asked all the time. It depends who you speak to. Some people feel that NCLEX, get the NCLEX done, because without the NCLEX, you really can't, you can't even, the thing is that in the US, you cannot be interviewed by clients unless you've passed the NCLEX. So typically most people will do the NCLEX first. There is a school of thought that says you should do the IELTS first, because if you're not trained in English, your English isn't good enough. If your English isn't good enough, you might not pass the NCLEX. So, it's kind of a gray area. There isn't really an exact rule of thumb, but the important thing is that you should, in order to be interviewed in the US, you need the NCLEX. No clients here will interview you without the NCLEX.
Sorry, Tanya. A lot of nurses who've spoken to me have said that IELTS is more challenging for them than NCLEX. So if they can get through the big hurdle of IELTS first, and like you say, have the English that's sufficient enough for them to do NCLEX, then the process might be a bit smoother for them.
It depends on the person, Alex. Some people feel that, other people feel the opposite. So it depends on the individual and where their strengths are. We have some nurses that, sail through the IELTS and really battle with the NCLEX, and vice versa. So it's really an individual thing. I think the thing that we've learned over all the years of doing this is that there just really is no magic wand. And it really takes a lot of hard work. It's blood, sweat, and tears to pass both of them. And there really isn't a magic wand. I wish there was, but there really isn't.
Okay, thank you very much for answering my question, Tanya. Hopefully that helps a few people watching. And we've had a question from, who is it, who said, Anna Marie said, did I hear that right? We can combine scores for IELTS. Yes, you can, Anna Marie, within a 2-year period. Razan's come back with a bit more of a specific question, hopefully, Colin. How can I prove my vocabulary for reading? Because I think I don't have enough vocabulary.
I mean, the way we generally get vocabulary is through reading. That's how people build up vocabulary a lot in their first language. So the first thing I'd say, Razan, is make sure you're doing a lot of reading, outside of the classroom or wherever you're preparing. I think this sort of ties into in terms of vocabulary. One thing I think doesn't work very well is getting one of those big lists, those big books, 2,000 words that will help you pass the IELTS, something like that.
Yeah.
I've spoken to so many students who they've they've got something like this. It's been sort of marketed as this is the only thing you need. Get this, you've got all the words you need, and then you'll go in and the essay will just come like that. And the same for the reading. Well, of course, the problem is that's giving you isolated words. What you need when you're reading, and also, of course, when you're writing, is to be able to connect all those words together into sentences in your writing and understand them in sentences in your reading. So I think you want to go to the source. You know, where's the vocabulary located? Well, it's located in reading texts. What sort of reading texts should you be looking at? Well, of course, you can look at practice IELTS tests. But if you think about the kind of texts you're going to be reading for IELTS, they're sort of, you know, maybe 1-2 page articles, fairly challenging, but not necessarily academic. You can find a lot of things like popular science magazines, you know, things like The Economist or Scientific American or National Geographic will have sort of articles. These are authentic texts, not language learning materials, but it's sort of similar in style to the kind of reading you're going to be doing in the exam, and you can get a lot of vocabulary from there. And of course, you're seeing it in context as well, so it will make more sense. And also, in terms of maximizing your study time, you can then use that vocabulary in your writing also.
Fantastic, Colin. So we've got lots of people who are agreeing with what's being said. Santosh said definitely. I agree with that statement, said Feely. Fantastic. And lots of people tagging their friends in as well. Rana Mahmood has been tagged by Nashwa. Yeah, definitely keep tagging people who might be able to benefit from today's session. So whether it's a friend or a colleague, a fellow medical professional who's looking to pass the IELTS exam so they can go and work in the USA, please let them know about today's session. So if you want to get access to our free IELTS welcome pack with video lessons, tips, ebooks, etc., make sure you firstly share today's IELTS live class video to your Facebook page, and then step 2 is underneath, write I have shared the IELTS live class video. So I have shared the IELTS live class video, use that exact wording, and then you'll get access to our free IELTS welcome pack with lots and lots of resources to help you. And we've just had Sujata Panika who's just done that. Great. Lots of other people are doing it as well. And Hira said, I think we've got a few questions. Well, we've got one from Hira. In speaking, is it true that current events are included in the questions? I think current affairs is what she referring to.
Yes, but in a very general way. They're never going to ask you, you know, they're not going to say, for example, what do you think about Donald Trump's visit to Europe last week? Or there's not going to be, luckily, there's not going to be any questions like that. But they might ask you about events which are maybe in the news in general. There'll be nothing specific, although they might then ask you a follow-up question to ask you to explain. So, for example, there might be questions about environmental destruction. Now, they wouldn't specifically ask about a news story, but they might, let's say, ask about environmental destruction in your country. So in general, yes, there can be current affairs, but nothing very specific.
Thank you, Colin. So Santosh Kumar said, I recently got 6.5 overall in IELTS academic. I need overall 7 and 7 in each. How can I improve? Please suggest some tips. I mean, again, it's a very, very general question, Santosh. You need to be a bit more specific. You know, which area in particular did you? I think you said 6.5 overall, but which areas did you get 7 in? Which areas did you get 6.5? Where do you feel where do you feel you got weakness? What did your teacher say? Did you have a teacher giving you feedback on particularly in your writing and speaking, which is generally the areas that students find more difficult? Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because it's a productive skill. So you need someone telling you where you're going wrong, what you need to do to improve in speaking and writing. Whereas reading and listening, you can just keep on practicing the exams, mock examinations, past exams again and again and again. Whereas for speaking and writing, you might not know. Well, you won't know if especially your own second language learners of English, you won't know that you're making grammar mistakes. You won't know that you're making pronunciation mistakes. You know, the way you're structuring your IELTS writing task to, you know, the kind of vocabulary that you're using, etc., etc. So having a teacher particularly for IELTS speaking and IELTS writing, will make a massive, massive difference.
Alex, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to mention to Santosh. Santosh is saying I need overall 7 and 7 each. And I think Santosh might be getting mixed up with the UK.
Yeah, I think he's, yeah, sorry, Tanya, go on.
Yeah, so the criteria, Santosh, for the US is a 7 in speaking and 6.5 overall. So it is less of a requirement than what you have for the UK. And Santosh, if you, what did you say here? If you got the 6.5 overall, you just need the 7 in speaking. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, I think he's probably targeting the UK. He said he got 6.5 in writing, reading and listening, 6 in writing, speaking 6. Can self-preparation work? My question to you is, Santosh, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to just prepare by yourself? Because it could take you a long time to improve speaking and writing by yourself. If you speak to the wall does not reply back to you, okay? I use that one a lot. The wall does not reply back to you. The wall doesn't give you corrections on your grammar, your vocabulary, pronunciation, your fluency, telling you your answers are too short. Why would you want to do that? I know a lot of students are struggling financially, okay, and maybe you can't afford to pay for a preparation program, but you also shouldn't be paying for exams again and again and again, because that means you're wasting more money in the long run. So you're better off buying a preparation program or getting a teacher who's helped students to pass exams before. Getting that person to help you will reduce the amount of time that you're preparing. You don't need to keep coming to classes like this. You can forget about English. You can move on with your dream life in the USA. And you can save more money in the long run, and you can start making more money from the salary that you'd be getting in the USA, okay, immediately. So that's my question to you, is why would you want to do that, okay? I mean, if it's a case of saving money will be better by getting a preparation program. Okay, you can get online programs. If you're saying suggest some online coaching program, of course I'm going to be biased and say Swoosh English. We've got ex-IELTS examiners like Colin, so go to our website swooshenglish.com. We can help you. Of course, there's other good IELTS teachers out there. There's other good websites and schools. But yeah, that would be my advice to you. Doiki said, do I include articles in my word count for my writing?
Yes. Yeah, they're words. So yeah, all counting, yeah.
All counting. What else? Joanne said, for speaking, what's the right approach in answering a question wherein you really have no idea or little idea about a topic? Good question.
It is a good question. So let's say, for example, there was a question about art. Art seems to come up quite a lot in the IELTS exam for some reason. There's a speaking question about art, and you have no interest or knowledge about art. What should you do? Well, the thing to remember is you're being judged on your language ability. You're not being judged on your ability to discuss the theories of art or things like that. So what you can say is, as long as you're using appropriate language, you can explain that. You could say, I actually have very little interest in art. I do like movies. They're a kind of art. So I'd like to talk about a movie. So you can turn the question around a little bit. What I wouldn't advise doing is just try to make up something on the spot. Like try to blag it, try to pretend you know what you're talking about, because that will affect your fluency a lot, because you'll always be thinking, what am I going to say next? And lots of ums and ers and pauses. So if it's a subject which you genuinely feel there's nothing you have to say, think of something that you can talk about connected to it and do that. Another question, another one. Delimo asks, is it recommended to finish writing task 2 first and go on to writing task 1 last? Don't think it really matters that much, as long as you are making sure you're assigning enough time to both. And that's usually given as 20 minutes for task 1, 40 minutes for task 2. I mean, task 2, as the bigger one, is worth more of your total writing score. So I don't know, personally, I feel if I was doing the test, I'd want to do writing task 2 first to make sure I got it completed. But I've spoken to lots of students who say they much prefer to do task 1 first instead. You know, it can be done faster. It's a little easier. It's maybe a way to ease your way into the writing. The one thing you don't want to do is overrun on one task so you don't have enough time on the other one. And that would work both ways. You know, you can't spend the first 50 minutes doing task 2, and then expect to cram task 1 into 10 minutes. So yeah, I'd stick to that 20 minutes task 1, 40 minutes task 2, and then you can really do them in whichever way you prefer, I think.
Fantastic, Colin. Let's see what other questions we've got coming through. Okay, thank you so much, sir. You're welcome, Santosh. Okay, because we want nurses to pass as quickly and as effectively as possible in the least amount of exam attempts. You know, Tanya and I have spoken previously about students taking the exam 10 times, 15 times. It's a lot of money and it's a lot of time wasted. So why would you want to continue with self-study when you're not getting the scores that you're looking for? Santosh, you've been getting 6 in writing and speaking. That's 2 band scores below what you're looking for, which is a 7 in both areas. That could take you a long time by yourself. Okay, the minority of students can pass by doing self-study, but the majority, in my opinion, who need to get those high scores, they would benefit massively from having a teacher or an ex-IELTS examiner like Colin. Okay. John said, "Can you help me? My penmanship is like a chicken scratch."
Yeah, the first thing is if you're writing in cursive, joined up writing, don't do that. There's nothing wrong with using cursive in the writing, but oftentimes candidates whose writing is difficult to read are writing in cursive and they're doing it very fast, so it just becomes a sort of scribble. So avoid using cursive if you don't have good handwriting. Beyond that, I don't know, improve your handwriting, practice, get better.
Joel said, although it's my first time taking the test, I'm quite anxious how it will turn out, but this is a good start, this live class video. You're very welcome, Gels. John said, thank you so much. This live video is very informative. You're very welcome. Make sure you share today's Facebook live class on your page. And just to let you know, Colin, my mother is watching right now.
Hello, Mrs. Melia.
Mum, do you have a question about IELTS? Please let me know in the chat box. And she's a Band 9 candidate, Colin.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
Excellent. So, Delimar, didn't expect that. Delimar, is it okay to admit to the examiner that you're nervous in the speaking test?
Yeah, and even when you first go in, if you feel that you need a few seconds before beginning, you know, just to get your breathing under control and everything, just say to them, look, you know, so I'm a little nervous. Can we have a few seconds? By the way, the examiners will know that everyone's nervous because they've seen, you know, hundreds, thousands of candidates. Everyone's nervous when they walk in, apart from a few people who are really confident, some overconfident. But being nervous is perfectly normal and expected. So yeah, I wouldn't stress about it.
Absolutely, we're all human beings. We all get nervous from time to time, so there's nothing wrong with that. And I think people like the honesty, don't they, Colin? That you can just say, I'm nervous. This is, of course, you're nervous. This is a high stakes exam. If you're all medical professionals watching now. If you pass this exam, your whole life changes. So, you know, you better salary, more freedom in the US. You've got access to so many job opportunities, etc. So I can understand why you'd be nervous.
You would, and just in terms of the speaking, remember, I mean, the examiners are human as well. I mean, they would love nothing more than to give you a great score. You know, it's natural to want people to do well. They're going to give you every opportunity. You know, if you mess up on the first question, they're not going to think, oh, right, this person's useless. They're going to ask you as many questions as they can, give you as much opportunity. You know, they're not trying to trick you. They're trying to give you the opportunity to show evidence, to demonstrate your language ability. So, you know, making a few mistakes, occasionally forgetting what you're going to say, this is completely normal. The examiners will understand that. They will be looking carefully to see what your true language level is.
Absolutely. And Santosh said, how can I join your online course? go to swooshenglish.com. If you're looking for more free materials, we've got free materials on there. Go to our YouTube channel. We've got videos all about IELTS as well. But yeah, if you're looking to pass as quickly and as effectively as possible in the least amount of exam attempts, go to our website. Then what else have we got? Keep your questions
Alex,
coming.
Yeah, just a quick question from Feely, because I can answer it quickly as well, about the difference between the academic and general IELTS exams and whether they get the same questions. So for listening and speaking, there's no difference between the two tests. As Feely said, writing is different. The reading is also different as well. It's less academic, as you'd expect in the general exam.
Okay, Ranjit said makes sense. What's the again, Razan? Your questions are very, very general. What's the general trick for solving reading questions?
If there was one general trick, then everyone would know it already, I think.
Exactly. You need to be more specific. The more specific you are, the more we can help you. Kimberly said, in speaking, is it possible to change the question if you can't answer?
I mean, it depends what you mean by change the question. So, for example, in task 2, you're given something you have to speak about, and you don't have a choice in that. If the examiner gives you your paper or card and it says you need to describe, your best holiday ever, that's really what you need to talk about. But like I said before, when there's a question about the example about talking about art, if you know nothing about art, it's perfectly fine to turn that question around and talk about something related to it. If in the examiner asks you a question like, what's your favorite sport, and you don't like sport, you can say that. I mean, don't just say I hate sport, but elaborate on your answer. But you can continue to communicate even if you don't like it. I don't really like sports. When I was at school, I preferred doing my homework. Sport's popular in my country, though. You are being judged, remember, on your language ability, and you can demonstrate that whatever the topic is. You don't need to be an expert or familiar with the topic to be able to talk about it.
We've got a message from a Korean student, I think. I can't read Korean, unfortunately. I think it's Korean, might be Japanese. Does it matter if we write capital letters or lowercase letters?
Actually, it doesn't. I think it should personally, but it doesn't. So if you're one of those people and you like writing in all capital letters, you think it's going to maybe make your writing easier to read, yes, you can do that. I would say still make it clear if you're using all capitals, because to demonstrate a good grasp of punctuation, you need to show where you'd put a capital letter. So you still need to indicate that, for example, at the beginning of a sentence, this is a capital letter. So make that capital letter a bigger one. So you can do that if you really want to.
I agree with you, Colin. I don't know why people would do that, or why they, not necessarily that people would do it, but also why would IELTS allow that? Because and also as well, it takes me a long time if I'm writing everything out in capital letters.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is that some people it might help with their handwriting. I mean, capitals maybe.
Dyslexia.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, Shira, actually, before I go on to the next question, I've just posted inside this chat box. People are always asking after these Facebook Live classes, what extra additional support that you can give us. Well, we've got a free Facebook group for IELTS where we can give you access to a study partner. I don't know, Tanya, if you're there, if you can briefly talk about this Facebook group, but I've just posted it inside the chat box where we're able to give you access to a study partner. We're going to be starting a competition very, very soon where nurses can get access to some of our resources that students usually pay for. And we're going to have a competition for those students to get access to them. So you need to be in it to win it, as we say. But you need to be inside the Facebook group and you need to take part and be a really active, engaged member of the group.
It's like a lottery. How do you win the lottery? You need to buy a ticket.
Exactly. But in this case, they don't need to buy any ticket. They're buying
a free ticket.
Anything.
It's free. So yes, Alex, we want to share that we have created a free IELTS support group. It is 100% free. And in the IELTS support group, there are a number of pointers and tips that are posted almost every day, right, Alex?
Yeah, every day.
By the Swoosh team. where they will be sharing various pointers and tips, these videos, so all the valuable information that Colin has been sharing, as well as the other the other lessons that we've had previously are all shared in that group as well. If somebody missed it, they are recorded, and you can watch them again and again. And then you are also allocated with a study partner. We have created a WhatsApp group, and there are announcements that are put into the WhatsApp group. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of very exciting stuff. But I think really it comes down to the practice, because as we said before, there just really isn't a magic wand with the IELTS. And the more I listen to Colin, the more we really learn that. It's so interesting to get into the head of the IELTS examiners and see how they look at the students and what they're trying to accomplish and how they're really trying to help. But at the end of the day, it's hard work, and that's going to take practice. And if you are not able to get a teacher, a study partner is a very valuable tool. So you will be allocated with a study partner, and we really encourage you to make use of that.
Absolutely, Tanya. And like I said, with the competitions, the free competitions we're running in the Facebook group starting next week, you'll be able to get access to a lot of free resources that we've got that we usually charge for. So we usually charge money for these on our website, but we want to really grow this community. We've got nearly 2,000 people in this Facebook group, and we're looking to really grow it, where we've got really quick. We want to get as many engaged nurses as possible, though we only want those nurses who are really motivated to pass their exam as quickly and as effectively as possible in the least amount of exam attempts. So if you are one of those nurses and you think you fit that criteria, then please let me know in the chat box below. Yes, I'm that kind of person. Please let me know in the chat box. But I posted the link for the Facebook group. It's called the Kinetics IELTS Support Group, and there you can go ahead, click the link, and we will accept you in there if you fit that criteria, which I'm sure all of you do. So we've probably got the last few minutes for any more questions that we've got. And let's see, Shelaj said, hello, if you don't have enough time in writing task 2 and didn't meet the 250 words, but in the last part you have a conclusion, is it, do you still have a chance to get a high score?
I mean, if it's possible, because from the 4 criteria, okay, let's look at how being under length might actually affect your score. So task achievement means fully developing all the parts of the question and all the parts of all your reasons, explanations, and so on. So it would be difficult to get a very high score on that if you're under length, because probably that means somewhere, even though your essay is well structured, somewhere your points aren't detailed enough or there's not enough examples. Now, of course, it is still possible to get a high score, because maybe you're scoring very highly for your lexis, your vocabulary, or maybe your grammatical range and accuracy is very good. So it is still possible, but it is more difficult. So that's why I'd always say going over the word count's not a problem. Just try not to go under it. And I'll keep going because I just saw another question. Apologies for my pronunciation. Habibur Rahman, how can I improve my pronunciation? There's no English centers in our area, or to ask someone. One thing you can do is record yourself. And like I said before, it's important to be aware for pronunciation of what the examiner's listening out for. It's not just individual sounds, individual words. It's your pronunciation on a sentence level. And in part 2, it's your pronunciation on for a whole 2 minutes. So if you record yourself talking and listen back for things like, does my intonation go up and down, or is it very flat? Am I pausing in natural places, like in between my main points or after sentences, or am I pausing in the middle of sentences and saying and a lot? So just recording yourself and listening back to how you sound can be very instructive if you've not done it before. We never sound in recordings like we think we sound in our own head. So it can be a useful, I mean, obviously it's best if you've got someone there with you, but if you're in a situation or just on a particular day when you don't have a teacher or study partner or someone, just recording and analysing your own speaking can be useful.
Thank you, Colin. I did see a question before that we don't think we answered. I think someone said, should I do task 2 in writing first before task 1?
Oh, we addressed that.
Oh, did we address that one?
Yeah,
Oh,
it depends. There's no right answer for that.
Okay. And what else? John Mariachi said, is there any proper attire that men should wear in the exam?
No.
Dress to impress, John. You can go naked if you want. I'm only joking.
Yeah.
Wear whatever you like. I mean, of course. I mean, it'd be strange if you wore, I don't know, shorts and t-shirt and it was winter where you were. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. They're not going to give you higher scores or lower scores because you've got certain clothes on.
No.
So something respectable would be fine. If we've got any more questions come through, we'll probably answer the last couple of questions. Make sure you share today's IELTS live class video if you haven't already, so you can get access to our free IELTS welcome pack. And you've got lots of resources, free resources and video lessons in there that you can get access to. If you've not already clicked, make sure you join our free Facebook group as well. I've just posted that in the chat box again for you. So if you do want to get access to that Facebook group, then make sure you join. We're going to have lots of competitions where you're going to get access to a lot of our materials. Make sure you register with Kinetics as well if you're a nurse looking to go to the US. It's called the Kinetics IELTS Facebook group. So in there, we'll give you a study partner. We'll give you lots of videos that we've got that we filmed previously that we'll give you and put them in the Facebook group for you. So you kind of got a one-stop shop community there of really dedicated, motivated nurses who are looking to move to the US. So we'll probably answer the last question if it comes through. Let us know the last question of today. Please let us know in the chat box. A special mention as well to the LaFora Facebook group. If you've not joined LaFora and you're a Filipino nurse who's looking to move to the USA, make sure you join LaFora. Luis is one of the fantastic admins who's part of that team. And if you want to join LaFora, or if you're already in with LaFora and you think it's amazing, because we all think it's amazing, if you are part of that, let me know in the chat box. But if you're not part of LaFora, make sure you join their Facebook group. They are one of our important partners in helping nurses to pass the IELTS exam so that they can come and work in the US. Okay, we've got one last question. I don't know if you want, we've got one from, the last one, will it be okay if I have more than 150 words or 250 words in the writing tasks, just in case?
Oh.
Did you cover that one before?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just looking down. Oh, it's is it Una maybe. Yeah, more's fine. I mean, in practice, if you're writing double the number of words, probably you're not going to have enough time for the other task. So going over's fine, but sticking roughly to it. I mean, and it is roughly, 150 or a little more, and for task 2, 250 or a little more is fine.
Good. You're able to read? Is it Japanese or Korean?
It is Korean, and I don't have my glasses on, but squinting at it, it looks like Dan Yuna. That's a guess.
Is that right? Let us know in the chat box if Colin's correct. There's some impressive language skills from our UK ex-IELTS examiner Colin in here that I didn't know about.
If it was correct, it's impressive. Otherwise, it's not.
Again, Kamel Lassoir, very general question. How can I improve my level from B1 to C1? Very general. You have to be a bit more specific. Jonah. It's Jonah, she said.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Jonah.
That was a good effort.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone, so thank you so much for coming to our live class today. And let me know, has this been helpful? Let us know, has the live class with an ex-IELTS examiner from the UK been helpful to you today to get your questions answered? We always like to provide some help as much as possible to our nurses who are looking to go to the US. So if it was helpful, let me know in the chat box, and we can, if it is helpful, then we'll continue to do these sessions. Doiki said thank you. Jonah said thank you for answering. You're very welcome. Okay, please let us know in the chat box. We've got so many people watching right now. If you want us to continue doing these sessions for you, we are collaborating with LaFora. And if you're not part of their Facebook group and Luis, etc., make sure you join their group. It's a very helpful community for nurses. John said thank you, Colin and Alex. Jel said thanks a lot. Okay, fantastic. So has it been helpful to you? Please let us know in the chat box. and make sure you come to our next session. Kamal Sawar, thanks for answering. Yes, it's helpful, said Doiki. Great stuff. Okay, so Colin, I know you're busy ex-IELTS exam, and you've got another lesson to go to, so thank you very much for being part of the session today. And I think Tanya's enjoyed having her questions answered as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Colin. I found that really interesting, and I'm sure all the nurses did as well. There's just so many pointers and tips that you've mentioned, and I really encourage everybody, as Alex said, to share this video, pay it forward to make sure that everybody passes the IELTS, because it is a challenge. It's not an easy task, but there's just, you know, a wealth of information that's been shared, and there've been some really good questions. So thank you everybody for participating.
You're very welcome, Colin.
Yes, well, hopefully you all got something out of it. Nice speaking to you all, some very interesting questions, and of course, very best of luck in the exam.
Great stuff. So this is the first time Colin's done our Facebook Lives. I think we should get him back next time. What do you think, Tanya?
Definitely, definitely. Great job, Colin.
Okay.
Cheers, Colin. Have a great weekend.
And you. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Lots of people. Yeah, thanks so much. Looking for the next session. Habib Rahman, thanks. What did you say? Thanks. I'll say it's because I understand someone speaking, but not the other one. I'm not sure what you mean, Habib Rahman. Very useful and informative, said Maria. Thank you very much, said Zakaria Gaziz. You're very welcome. And if you've not joined our Facebook group, IELTS, our Kinetics IELTS support group, make sure you click the link in the chat box to get access to that. But last closing sentiments from Tanya from Kinetics.
Well, just one thing, just to clarify, the support group is for everybody. Everybody is welcome. We really encourage anybody who is joining the support group to participate. The more you participate, the more you're going to get out of it. As Colin said, you can record yourself. I think that's a really useful tip that I felt, you know, it can be very helpful. And working with a study partner, if you're recording yourself and you each recording, you know, each of the study partners are recording yourselves, I think it's going to be extremely helpful for you to learn from each other and help overcome this challenge. So it's for everybody. Please share it. Before we leave, I just wanted to thank again the Lafora team. They have been absolutely phenomenal in and helpful in Louise, Jean, Chris, who is the moderator that I've known for many years and worked with for many years. So thank you so much to the Lafora team for opening this up for everybody to share this free information. And I just wanted to give a shout out before we finish off as well to everybody in California. I know many of you watching have got friends, relatives, and family in California. I'm based in California myself, in San Diego, and with the fires that were here this last week, it's been a pretty devastating and tragic time in California. So I hope everybody is safe, and a thank you to all the firefighters who did an amazing job. And with that, I think we just want to wish everybody a great weekend and keep up the studying.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Before I go, lots of people saying looking forward to the next sessions. You're very, very welcome. If you are looking for to pass the exam as quickly and as effectively as possible, I would always recommend to find yourself a teacher or an ex-IELTS examiner. Someone can help you pass quicker. Otherwise, it can be quite a frustrating process. So we've got lots of people who are in our Facebook group who are having classes as well, and they're saying that what a great bit of support it is. So go and find a teacher is what my advice would be to you. But definitely, we'll be trying to look forward to do more sessions with you very, very soon. So thank you very much, Tanya. Thanks to Lafora and all of our Kinetics and Swoosh community. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi.